going on, everyone? My name is Cole Kakamis, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm really excited to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is ultra-wide monitors and specifically gaming on them. I know I'm probably biased, but I think that really they are the best investment for your whole setup. They give you a ton of screen real estate, which is awesome for myself because I do a lot of video editing, coding, designing, gaming. I do a lot, and so having that ability to multitask is really convenient. So they generally have an aspect ratio of 21:9 as opposed to 16:9 on a traditional monitor. A little fun fact is that 21:9 is actually the ratio that most movies are filmed in. So if you load up a full screen movie on one of these, it's going to look just how it was intended to be seen. So it was really cool. Now, before you comment, oh, Cole, just get two monitors. I've tried that before, and this just looks better. And now that I have one, it makes me a real tech YouTuber. But in all seriousness, the point of the video is to talk about the gaming experience and the benefits that come when picking one of these up for that purpose. So to give some context, the monitor is a 34-inch model from LG, and it has a 3440 by 1440p resolution with a 5 millisecond response time. The display itself is actually curved, which I really like from a design standpoint, but when actually using it, you don't really notice it that much. The panel itself is an IPS with a refresh rate of 75 Hz. What this means for the non-techies watching this video is that the colors are going to be more accurate and you're going to have better viewing angles. Unfortunately though, there are some downsides when you pick an IPS over say something like a VA or TN panel, and that is that they tend to be a lot more expensive. This one ran me about $1,000. I don't want to talk about it, my wallet still hurts. But also they just tend to be really unreliable. I actually had 3 different purchases for this one monitor. The first 2 they came, the panel was just like broken lines down the middle. Not a fun experience. I had to go through returns and it took like a few weeks to finally get my hands on this one. So when you're in the market for an ultra-wide monitor or really just any IPS panel, definitely do your research and see are other people experiencing this, because it's definitely a common occurrence. Now, my specific model was discontinued a few months back, but everything that I say in this video will hold true for all ultra-wide monitors. Now, when it comes to the PC hardware, you're gonna need quite the machine. If there's any console players watching this too, hoping they can elevate their gaming experience with an ultra-wide, unfortunately, on both the PS5 and Xbox Series X, it is not supported. And to be honest, I don't see it coming anytime soon. Anyways, it is important to have both a powerful CPU and a lot of RAM, but really the most important thing is having a beefy graphics card, because since an ultra-wide monitor is wider, you're gonna have to be pushing out a lot more pixels in the games you play. So I built my custom PC back in January of 2020, and for a quick rundown, it's sporting an i7 9700K, a GeForce RTX 2070 Super, and 16 gigabytes of Corsair RAM. Now, if you want to see like a full in-depth look at it, all the parts, why I chose them, I made a video earlier this year you can go check out. I'll put it link in the description, wherever the card goes, somewhere up there. While the PC is a beast, choosing to use an ultra-wide monitor with it will reduce the performance, and this sucks because I think that the number one perks of using an ultra-wide monitor is the visuals, and so you're gonna have to make some sacrifices, like do you want it to look better but then have worse FPS, or do you want more FPS but it to look worse? So like I mentioned, I'm only on a 75 Hz panel, which I can only hear the hardcore PC gamers, clacking on their cherry blues, telling me that why would I recommend a product like that? But relax, most ultra-wide monitors are actually 144 Hz, 1 millisecond. It's just that I sacrificed all of that for my USB-C cable, which I regret. I'm not gonna lie, I regret that. But because I use my Mac on a daily basis, having both power and an external monitor in one cable is super convenient. Now, onto what you clicked on this video for is how ultra-wides really perform in games. The benefits using one is you get a very immersive gaming experience. Obviously, it's not at the level of something like VR, but you still get a higher FOV without having to pan quite as much, and it's really awesome. However, one major downside is that there is still quite a few games that don't actually support like 21:9 aspect ratios, so you're gonna have those annoying black bars on the side. This isn't an issue for almost any new AAA game, but for example, I played Valorant and Detroit Become Human, and they both didn't support it. It is possible to download mods, like tweak the display so that it kind of works, but I'm not endorsing this, so don't run in the comments when your computer breaks and blame me. I had nothing to do with this. I've done enough talking, so now it's time to actually show real gameplay on one of these. The first game I tested out was COD Cold War. For visualization, here's what 16:9 looks like, and then here is what 21:9 looks like. I was running on mostly high graphics settings and was able to average around 100 to 110 FPS. I was really shocked it got this high, and it was more than playable. Occasionally it did get a little choppy, but for 99% of the time it felt completely fine. Next up is Rainbow Six Siege, which is one of those games that would run good even on a potato. You don't need any expensive GPU or CPU, so really any generic laptop or PC could probably run it fairly reliably. So on ultra settings, I was able to get a whopping 190 frames per second. It just looks absolutely great, and it's awesome to see that I don't have to sacrifice any of my performance. What's worth noting though is that my specific monitor and a lot of other ones have 5 millisecond response times, or maybe like 3, which to the average user is completely fine, but if you're like really competitive, hardcore playing, it could be life or death. The next game I tried out was Minecraft Java Edition. FPS isn't as important in a game like this, but I was still able to average around 120 frames per second. Now, your results may be a little off if you're blowing up a ton of TNT, but for 99% of gameplay, you'll have no issues running it. So next up is Warzone, which is a game that I hadn't actually played in quite some time before making this video, so it was really fun to get back into that, really enjoyed it, but I was able to average around 75 frames per second with high settings and DirectX ray tracing enabled. At times though, when I got into crowded areas with a lot of gunfighting, it started to dip down to 60 and sometimes even in the 50s. This is one of those games where I think FPS, in my opinion, is really important. So if I was in the market for an ultra-wide monitor, I would make sure that I had either a really beefy graphics card or was willing to tune down the settings quite a bit. On to probably my absolute favorite game to play on an ultra-wide is Firewatch. On ultra settings, it ran at an average of 85 to 90 FPS and just looked freaking beautiful. Oh my goodness. If you haven't played this game before, I seriously recommend trying it out. I finished the story back before I even owned the ultra-wide monitor, so I think I'm gonna have to go back and do another playthrough because I am like drooling over how good this looks. I would say that the story-driven titles like Firewatch are when you're really gonna have the absolute best experience with these monitors. For me, I don't play a ton of video games anymore, and so when I have downtime, these are the types of titles that I play. So the last game I tried out was Red Dead Redemption 2, and let me say, this is again one of my favorite games when it comes to both story and visuals. I had the settings set to favorite quality, and I was able to get around 50, sometimes high 40 FPS, but in this game, I think that's completely fine. You don't really notice the choppiness because there isn't a ton of like fast-paced panning that you're going to be doing. Now that you've seen a little bit of what it's like to game on one of these, I want to reiterate on all the pros and the cons and, who really are they for? If you're a casual gamer who, doesn't really care so much about FPS and is willing to sacrifice it for some better visuals and especially plays a lot of story-driven games, I think that an ultra-wide monitor is fantastic. However, if you're playing a lot of shooters like COD, CSGO, or really any competitive type of game, then it's definitely worth checking out the specs of your PC and the refresh rate of the monitors in your price range to see how much the performance is going to be affected. And if you're absolutely decked out with like a 3080 Ti, is that even a thing? I say you just go for it because the games look so damn good and you would probably get completely great FPS anyways. Obviously ultra-wides are wide, so you're gonna have to free up a lot of desk space. If you're someone who wants to be streaming, I would say kind of steer clear from these and just go with two 16:9 monitors. Trying to play at the same time that you're capturing all on one screen, unless you have like one of like the 49 inches, is just gonna be way too difficult. And lastly, make sure that all the games that you play will support 29:9 aspect ratios because otherwise you're defeating the purpose and just gonna have those ugly black bars. For me, I absolutely love it because when it's time to get to work, I have all that screen real estate for multitasking, but when it's time to wind down, I get this immersive experience in all the games I play. If I could go back in time though, I would probably pick up a different model, maybe something like an Alienware, just so that I could have that high refresh rate to take advantage of the few games that actually do run pretty well. Down the line, I'll definitely be upgrading the monitor and my PC build, so stay tuned to the channel if you want to see that. If you enjoyed, make sure to nuke the like button for me real quick because it really helps out the YouTube algorithm, push my videos out to more people. For more tech content in the very near future, be sure to subscribe and turn on bell notifications so you're notified when I upload. Thanks again for watching and take care.